Hey everybody, what is going on? Hexlex here. I got another Master Duel video for you. We're coming back with another sprite variant. This one a little more standard than the last one I played, which was Ice Barrier Sprite. And this one is not necessarily something I cooked up, but I actually got a lot of ideas from other people, looking at lists on Untapped mostly. And that is going to be Yubel Sprite. Of course, this variant is one that's pretty well, I think, wide known. I think this is probably one of the more common sprite variants out there right now, with the Nightmare Throne being able to grab the Dark Beckoning Beast, which by itself can make a full sprite board. It's definitely no shock to then also see a little bit of a Yubel package in here as well to potentially go for the Phantom of Yubel. And I gotta say, being able to go into Phantom of Yubel like before you commit fully to your sprite plays is actually just insane. And we're going to see multiple replays here where the Phantom of Yubel, the ability to make that in this variant, is just going to win us this game. So, excuse me. So, the idea here is, especially with the Yubel package, you might be wondering why we have Spirit and regular Yubel here. Let's say, for example, that you actually open Dark Beckoning Beast and also a Nightmare Throne, that you just happen to get both of them, right? Well, rather than add the Dark Beckoning Beast, what you can do instead is activate the Nightmare Throne to, rather than add a monster, you can, where is it? Because you can either add or destroy it, right? So instead of adding, you would destroy the Spirit of Yubel on deck. Spirit of Yubel effect summons regular Yubel from the deck. Now you can shuffle Spirit of Yubel in the grave and Yubel on the field for the Phantom of Yubel. Then you normal summon Dark Beckoning Beast, and then you go into sprite plays, right? You would do that by adding the opening for Beckoning Beast, and then get the extra normal summon, and then you can go into Gigantic from there, and the Gigantic for blue, and then you're pretty much off to the races, right? We have an additional package here besides just the Yubel stuff and the Nightmare Thrones and the Dark Beckoning Beast. And that is Hero Kid. For the first time, I am playing Hero Kid in a sprite deck. This is a card that I've kind of been like pretty meh on for quite some time. However, I do think that in certain variants, this has a lot of advantages over the Nimble engine, which I might normally play alongside the Sprint, right? The advantage of the Hero Kid package is that it's actually not bad to summon off of like Gigantic, for example, whereas the Nimble package really is very Sprint reliant. But again, we can also use Sprint to set up the Hero Kid stuff. Basically, the idea being that you would link your monsters into Sprint, then dump the Hero Kid. Then, if you have another level 2 out, you can overlay Sprint and that 2 into Gigantic. Gigantic, go into Blue, into Jet, and all that fun stuff. We'll actually see a replay where I do all this. Then later in the combo line with Elf, then that's when you revive the Hero Kid. After the Hero Kid is revived off the Elf effect, it will then summon the other 2 copies from the deck. Now, again, you could also just use Gigantic to summon the Hero Kid from the deck, and then summon the other 2 copies, but there are a lot of times where you'll need to use Gigantic to go into Sprite Blue, otherwise you won't be able to set up the Blue plus Jet. Basically more bodies plus the starter for the Carrot/Red, or I guess Red/Carrot negate there at the end of it. So definitely a very helpful engine. That again does have some advantages over the Nimbles. The Hero Kid is also like not bad to open, unlike literally all of the Nimble cards. I mean, Beaver is actually not that bad to open, but if you're playing the bare minimum Nimble package of 1 Beaver, 1 Angler, and then 1 other Nimble card, either like Musari or Sunfish or something, then even if you open Nimble Beaver, it's like, yeah, that's fine, but now also your Sprint Descending Angler has no value, right? You're just going to get another level 2 monster, and you're kind of like not net gaining any bodies. But there is an advantage to opening Hero Kid, because then you could open the Hero Kid plus like a sprite monster, and then go into, Gigantic or whatever, and then again later in the combo line, you Elf, bring back the Hero Kid, and then summon 2 more Hero Kids, right? Which like Nimble, Angler, and again Musari or Sunfish or whatever don't have that advantage. So I will say that, I was a little resistant to trying Hero Kid, but now that I've played it, I am pretty thoroughly impressed with it. Now, granted, there are some variants, like the Ice Barrier variant that I played last, which does still need to play the Nimble package for other reasons. Namely, that Elf has to revive Mirror Mage in that variant. But in variants like Pure, where the Elf revival is not necessarily committed to any one body, Hero Kid, I think, is a very, very nice level 2 engine there. Otherwise, it's all pretty typical sprite stuff. I'm playing a little bit of a Melfi package here to add to our end board as well. Being able to throw the Omni Negate on the end board is always nice. Normally I play 2 of each red and carrot in a pure sprite deck. However, this time around, I've opted to only go down to 1 copy of each in order to make more room for like more hand traps like Valor, and like we have the 1 of triple attacking here, as well as of course also Seas, Ash Blossoms, Imperms, Nib. I feel like I almost don't need to do a deck breakdown at this point because I've already listed out pretty much every card that's in the deck here. Oh, another thing I wanted to address about the Yubel package, actually. It's pretty easy to, wonder, like, okay, well, if you open Yubel, isn't that just like a dead draw? Don't you not want to do that? True, opening Yubel might not necessarily be ideal, but a lot of the time, that's actually just fine, because you're still pretty likely to open, again, Beckoning Beast, or Opening, or Nightmare Throne alongside it. And if that's the case, you can simply, a little bit later in the combo line, after you've used up Beckoning Beast for some of your plays, contact fuse it with the Yubel in hand to then go into Phantom. You'll of course want to do that before your 2 locks with a Gigantic or a Starter, so definitely, of course, make sure to keep that in mind there. For the extra deck, I mean, it's pretty standard sprite stuff. This variant, because we are on like specifically Yubel and also Melfi stuff, I clicked on Beckoning Beast, I meant Yubel and Melfi stuff. And then also the Hero Kid wants the Sprint, right? So we do have a few extra deck specific slots in that regard. Sprint is, again, just kind of a more generic sprite card, but it's not often played in pure unless you have something like the Nimble package or Hero Kids to dump with it. For our other special packages, we do have to commit to Phantom, Herald, and Melfi of the Forest, but to be fair, Sprite is also a deck where the extra deck is generally pretty wide open. Like, everything else you see here is all you really have to play. Like, the 2 Gigantic, you want some kind of a Zeus pilot. I'm definitely a bigger fan of Shadow Mosquito than the Sky Cavalry there. Of course, Downward and Zeus. Almirage is definitely required, especially for a variant like this with the Dark Beckoning Beast, right? Because this way, if you opening the Spirit Gates, you can opening for Beckoning Beast, link it off into Almirage, then opening discard, bring back Beckoning Beast, Almirage plus Beckoning Beast into Elf, Elf bring back Beckoning Beast, overlay for Gigantic, and then Gigantic for blue for Jet for starter, and you're off to the races. So. And then, yeah, we just got the IP, the Elves, the SP, and the Avermax as our IP targets here. So, yeah, again, it's just a pretty standard list as far as, like, all that goes. Aside from, of course, the Yubel stuff. You also don't have to play the Yubel package. If, for example, you wanted to, like, if you really weren't, like, into the idea of drawing these, right? You could take these out, as well as the Phantom of Yubel, and then boom, now you have room for a second red and carrot, or some more hand traps, or some more disruption. You also have room in the extra deck for some more rank or link 2 options there as well. One of the things that I think draws me most towards Sprite as like an archetype is the fact that it's so compatible with so many different strategies. And even a pure Sprite deck is really an amalgamation of these engines, and a lot of people don't like that about Sprite. I've seen people say that, like, oh, Sprite decks look so janky, you play the most random level 2s, but it's like, I don't know, to me that's like the heart of innovation in deck building, right? Is finding all of these like kind of obscure level 2. Do you know how many times I've just searched every level 2 effect monster? And I have a blast doing it, just finding all these random things that work with the Sprite package. So yeah, I think it's really cool. I think it's, again, to me, it's the sort of, this archetype is kind of the flagship of like innovation in deck building, which I highly value. I think deck building is a lot of fun, and making stuff like this work. So I've yapped on enough, and I've pretty much listed every card in the deck, so I'm not going to do a deck breakdown this time. We're just going to move straight on over to the replays. Okay, our first game is going to be against Raid Raptor. It's really cool to see somebody rocking that deck in Master 3 is where these games were played. We are going to be taking the first turn, and this is going to be showing a pretty typical turn 1 combo line. So we did open that Yubel, but again, we opened it alongside of the Nightmare Throne. So honestly, to me, that's completely fine. I can lead by normal summoning the Beckoning Beast, grabbing the opening the Spirit Gates. I'm going to grab another Beckoning Beast here, which I get the extra normal summon for. Now here, because I have the Yubel in hand, I'm going to do things a little bit differently. I'm going to link off this Beckoning Beast for Almirage. Now I can use opening, discarding Yubel to bring back Beckoning Beast, and then link those 2 off for Sprint. I'm basically trying to maximize the number of bodies, right? As well as still setting up the Phantom here. So Sprint F, dump Hero Kid. Now I can put back the Beckoning Beast and Yubel in the graveyard for Phantom. Now I can overlay Sprint and Beckoning Beast for the Gigantic. As always, if you're in a variant that's using Sprint, you want to make the Sprint first, so that way you can overlay it into Gigantic to get it out of the EMZ, because much like Elf, Sprint cannot be used as a link material the turn that it's summoned. So, Gigantic for Blue and Jet for starter, going to link off Blue and Gigantic for the Elf. And now here's where Elf gets to bring back Hero Kid, as mentioned. Hero Kid coming back, and when special summoned, pulls out the other 2 Hero Kids from the deck. I can overlay 2 of those Hero Kids to go for the Melfi of the Forest. Now Melfi of the Forest is going to detach to add the Melfi Caddy, which will summon during the end phase. Just going to link off the remaining Jet and Hero Kid here to go for the IP Masquerena. At that point, I can use Starter to bring out the Carrot, because I already have a Monster Negate in Phantom. Set 2, and then special the Caddy from hand. So, there you go. Like I said, that was a pretty typical turn 1 combo line. It does also make use of the Yubel package as well. And honestly, this is a pretty ideal end board, and we even made an ideal end board while opening the Yubel, the regular Yubel, the quote-unquote Garnet of the deck. So that's one of the reasons why I actually really like the Yubel package here, is that it doesn't even really matter if you open it. That's fine. If anything, it means you make your Phantom earlier, and that will enable you to have a Monster Negate up to protect your stuff earlier. So moving into our opponent's turn, they're going to start by trying to summon the Raid Raptor. I'm going to fire off the Max C, and this will, if I remember correctly, get the concede from them. So they were like, okay, this board maybe I can play through, but this board and a Max C? I don't know. Some things to note about using a board like this, by the way. Since we ended with the Melfi Xyz on the field, we can potentially actually make use of that effect. A lot of people don't necessarily know this, but the Melfi of the Forest is better, it's better than you might think. It's more for than just searching, right? It does also have the effect to target a face-up monster the opponent controls, make it unable to attack or activate its effects while it's face-up on the field. That's when we bounce a Melfi monster, right? So a lot of the time, you might want to caddy on your opponent's first summon to get the Herald of the Arclight, the Omni-Negate, out as quickly as possible. However, it might behoove yourself to wait until there's a monster that's on the field that you want to negate or make unable to attack, and then you can get it with the Melfi of the Forest effect as well. So, just things to consider. We can also, of course, make SP with the Melfi of the Forest plus IP. We could go into Avermax if we wanted to. Avermax would be good for protecting a Herald of the Arclight that we make. There's just so many different things that you can do with the end board here. So there's not only a lot of versatility into how you get to the board, but also how you use it, which is very nice. Anyway, let's go and check out some more duels. Okay, our next game is going to be up against Bisal Centurion. Oh, Centurion. I've got a lot of ideas cooking in my head of various Centurion decks I want to try this season, as well as other Synchro decks as well. We're going to be making the first move again, and yeah, we open Spirit of Yubel, which isn't necessarily ideal, but it's actually fine with Nightmare Throne and opening, because it means I can lead my combo with Phantom of Yubel. And the nice thing is, even if my opponent had like a Max C in hand, there's not really anything they can do about it, because the summon of Phantom of Yubel doesn't start a chain link. So if they didn't like shotgun the Max C during the draw or standby phase, now it's pretty much useless, because now the Phantom is just going to be able to negate it. So get a Nightmare Throne, and they're actually going to imperm on the Phantom, which is a little bit less than ideal, but worse things could happen. They have an Ash Blossom for my Beckoning Beast, but I already have the opening here. Even if I didn't have opening of Spirit Gates in this hand, by the way, like let's say this was just like a random hand trap, or like a, I don't know, yeah, just like a random hand trap or something, right? Or maybe an extra Nightmare Throne, something that's like completely dead. We still could have, as always as ever, if you have a level 2 monster and any other monster in play, make Sprite plays by linking these off into Elf. Elf bring back Beckoning Beast to overlay for Gigantic, and then Gigantic for Blue, Jet, Starter, the whole shebang. But here, we do have the opening, so I can just make use of that. Thankfully, Ash Blossom does not negate the entire effect. However, as we can see here, the opponent's got a Max C. So I actually think this was pretty good use of the Maxi, all things considered. Also, I was correct. They ended up having a Maxi here, which made me glad that I made Phantom as soon as possible. So I like that they Maxied while I had both Dark Beckoning Beasts on the field. Again, I think that was a pretty good move on the opponent's part, because basically what that means is that I'm committed fully to the board. I don't have any extra resources in hand, and I have to pass with a bunch of zero-attack monsters up. But I do also have the Phantom up, as well as the Effect Veiler in the hand there. So, and actually that was enough to get my opponent to concede right off the bat. That's why a lot of the time I like giving the opponent 0 draws, right? Even if I didn't have the Phantom of Yubel in play, but I still had the Effect Veiler in hand, I would still give the opponent 0 draws off of Maxi here, because the opponent being on fewer cards in hand, it makes it less likely they're able to combo off, especially through a negation, which I had actually multiple of. But again, even if I didn't have Phantom, I'd still have Veiler, they'd still have to play through a monster negate. Even if I didn't have Veiler, I'd still have Phantom, they'd still have to play through a monster negate, which they demonstrated here they were not able to do. There's also the possibility that they just didn't have plays at all, in which case they still would just concede here, because now you can just pass back to me while I have you can't rather just pass back to me while I have 2 Beckon Beast up. That's a full Sprite combo, which could be like, you know, Gigantic for blue, for Jet, for even Gamma Burst, right, to go for lethal there. So got one more duel that we're going to take a look at before we end off here. Let's see that one. And our final opponent is on Horus Chimera. It's been a while since I've seen Chimera. There is that new illusion monster that came out, the Candle from the House of Wax or whatever it's called, something like that. Anyway, we are going to be going second this time, and yet another game where we opened at a Yubel monster. But yet another game where that's actually completely fine, because we still have the Beckoning Beast alongside it. So, opponent leads with the Fright for a Patchwork. I thought at first this might be a more old-school branded Despia deck, but then of course the pitching of the Cornfield Codal is going to confirm that they are going to be, in fact, a Chimera deck. So we get to max seed them in response to the Polymerization, which is nice, but at the same time, you know, Chimera doesn't really tend to special summon that much, so it's only gonna be so good, right? There's also the fact that, yeah, Chimera gets the end phase discard. Now, you'll notice, actually, let me let this resolve here, including the Edgem chain. Yeah, you'll notice that I did not actually end up using the Imperm against the Chimera effect here. The Chimera effect is send a random card from the hand to the graveyard. So, when evaluating whether or not I thought this was worth negating, I had to ask myself, okay, look at my hand, do I care if any of this gets discarded? And obviously, Imperm wouldn't be that big of a deal, because otherwise the alternative is to just use the Imperm anyway, right, against the Chimera. Nightmare Throne, it's fine if they discard that. It means I still have Beckon Beast, it can still full combo. Yubel is actually an ideal discard. Caddy, doesn't matter, I can still have multiple ways to full combo. And Beckon Beast still doesn't matter, because I can still Nightmare Throne and full combo. So, yeah, that's why I let the Chimera resolve here. It actually does not matter at all what they send from my hand. I can still make plays no matter what. And by doing it this way, I hold the Imperm for a future combo piece. Alright, so Gazelle's going to grab the Mirror Sword Knight, and then Chimera gets the effect off. Mirror Sword Knight actually getting summoned and activated here for the Big Wing Baphomet. It's going to draw me into Veiler, which I'll go ahead and use on the Big Wing Baphomet, trying to bait out a call by here. We actually bait out the Cornfield Codal Graveyard Negate effect, which I totally forgot about, which is fine because I can still Imperm and negate the Big Wing Baphomet search. Yeah, I definitely don't want them to get a Chimera Fusion and potentially go for more stuff here, especially on my turn, because that is a quick play spell. Isn't it? Right? Hang on, wait. Hang on. I have to look to make sure I'm not... oh, they use Poly Diffuse, so it's not even... Well, I'm very sure it is a quick play spell, so... And as we see there, the Chimera does resolve and, in fact, bin the Yubel, which is definitely, like, the best possible situation for me, so... Drawn a Sprite Red. That's a pretty good top deck there. I'm actually going to start by putting back the Beckoning Beast and the Yubel in the grave for the Phantom, then going for the Nightmare Throne, and then they just concede right away. So, God, these games were so short. I feel like this video is going to be so short. I totally forgot that everyone just conceded before I made actual Sprite plays, I guess except for the first opponent. But, yeah, as always, ever, I do hope that you all enjoyed these games. Yeah, I love Sprite in all its variants. I feel like that's the dull statement of the year. If you know me, you know I love two things, Sprites and Synchros, and the only thing I love more than those is Sprites and Synchros in the same deck. I do actually want to cover some more synchro decks, as I have alluded to in past videos, and even earlier I was talking about Centurion, but I have actually recently crafted a junk speeder, so I'm just trying to make sure I can get this combo line down right before I commit to showing you all some synchron games. But that's on the menu. I want to play Majestic, not Majestic necessarily, but just Stardust Bisal, possibly with Centurion as well. Basically, I pulled an Alt Art Stardust, and now I'm just trying to play literally every single deck that can use it. So, you know, it's pretty typical stuff from me. Alright, that's gonna do it though. Thanks as always for watching. Let's just go ahead and move on to our outro. Hey everybody, Hexlex here. Just want to give you a huge thanks for watching all the way to the very end of the video. Believe it or not, that is actually one of the best ways that you can support the channel, is by watching the videos in their entirety. But there are many ways in which you can support the channel if you are so interested. The names that you're seeing on screen here, I gotta give an extra special thanks to, because these are people who have chosen to either become a member on YouTube, which if you're interested you can do as well via the join button next to the subscribe button down there, or have signed up over on Patreon and become members there. Link to that is going to be in the description below. Without the support that is being offered by, again, all the people that you're seeing on screen right here, I would not be able to take the time to dedicate to uploading daily YouTube videos. So thank you so very much. But there are also other ways you can support as well. Again, link to the description below. If you like my deck tracker that you'll see in a lot of my videos, the Untapped Companion, you can download that for free, and if you use my affiliate link down there, then that also goes a long way towards supporting the channel. That's again free. So is subscribing here on YouTube. That's also free and a huge way to support. You can also check out Twitch, once again linked in the description below. Following and subscribing over there will not only support as well, but also give you notifications of when I go live if you want to catch some of the live streams. But really, no matter how you choose to support, it all adds up and it all definitely means the world. So thank you, each and every one of you. For now, this is Hexlex. I'm going to be signing out, but more than that, I'm hoping that you have a fantastic day.